You have anything else to say on that, or you want to go straight into your future plans, your business, and that stuff?
Mm, it's funny because future plans and business, I'm actually taking things like as they go.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Like
No, but I think
I
that's
have
very relatable. So I like that story.
okay. Yeah, my future plans don't have any. No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
All right, you good?
Yeah, yeah.
All right.
We're good.
All right, today I'm joined by one of my favorite online people. He's someone I've met a long time ago. I've seen him a couple of times, and I honestly really respect this guy. He's an online content creator as well as a business person. You can check out their business on Instagram at victorious.supply. And you can find him online at Andre Lagdameo. Andre, thanks for
Yep.
coming in.
Thanks so much, Trey. Actually, business person. That's funny. I just learned how to make peanut butter a few months ago, because of
Hey,
quarantine.
hey, that's a good
And
start.
I was like, I really like peanut butter, so why not sell it to people if they buy it? So, but
Is it
yeah,
just peanut butter?
well, I make the peanut butter, but
Mm.
my mom started making this like natural immunity booster
Okay,
because
okay.
a lot of people are into health. So yeah,
Right.
that's what we just started, and it's been going pretty good. So
In my book, you're a business person.
thank you. I mean, if you're saying that, all right, I'm gonna take it. So I guess I am now.
Add that to your caption, to your bio. I'm just kidding.
Yeah, I
All
am
right.
officially a business person.
Certified by Trey Remulla. All
Yeah.
right. So I follow you online, and recently I've heard you speak out about certain topics. That's one
Mm,
reason why I decided it'll be great to have you on the show. Something happened recently that I don't really know how to explain it, but all I can say is that the marketing was disgusting.
mm,
Netflix released a movie that seemed to glorify minors in a sexual manner,
yeah.
and you released. And while this is not about the movie, you released your thoughts on happiness, right? You were
Yeah.
saying how yes, happiness is a good thing in when you look at it, but at the same time, there should be like certain boundaries to it.
Mm.
Um, can you explain what you meant by that?
Yeah. So I was going through this like some reviews on the show, and some people were saying how kind of makes them feel good like if they watch it, because and it would the fact that someone's saying it makes them feel good,
Mm,
I'm thinking, wait a second, this is like an 11-year-old provocatively
mm,
dancing that makes you feel good. So there's already something uncomfortable in me
mm,
because that that
for
whole
sure.
notion
Yeah.
just isn't right. But then um one of the things I remember just hearing a lot, whether that's in Instagram posts or Twitter, or just throughout social media, where people have this famous quote:
Mm,
"If it makes you happy, then just do
right.
it."
Right.
And at first, it sounds nice because it's like, yeah, I feel good, makes me happy. But the thing is, what if what makes you happy is unhealthy?
Mm,
Is that fine? Or
right.
what if what makes you happy puts another person at risk or harms another person? Does
Mm,
that mean it's fine to do it?
right.
um so I was saying happiness, like just aiming for happiness or whatever makes you feel good,
Mm,
is actually dangerous because you can end up hurting yourself or hurting another person. So you
right.
have to balance. Like, we're not supposed to just aim for what makes us happy or what makes us feel good. Like, like working out. When you're starting to work out, it doesn't always feel good,
That's
but
true.
it's healthy for you.
Yeah.
Or like, it feels good to just stay in bed, watch Netflix, and like binge watch everything. But is that the healthiest choice? Probably not. And so you have to balance it as well. It's not all about chasing the feel good
Right.
moment.
Right.
Yeah.
I think that's a very important thing that we need to discuss as a generation as well.
Mm.
I'm sure it's not just us, right? We've had the previous generation instilled some of that into us, like which is not necessarily in the bad. I'm sure that they had good intentions, like follow your dreams.
Yeah.
You can be anything because a lot of them grew up not being able to do what they wanted to do. So, in a way of empowering the thought of, hey, follow your dreams, follow what makes you happy, I'm sure that some of them, it's very good intent, but
Yeah.
to a certain extent, I've seen that, especially online, right? It's come to the point where people are just doing, hey, it makes me happy. You can't do anything about it,
Yeah.
right? It's people are saying, I like doing this. I know it's toxic. I know it's detrimental to another person's health, but it makes me happy. Where do you draw the line with hey, it's my dream to do this, and as well as no, this you shouldn't be doing this just because it gives you temporary happiness.
Mm. You know, these are really big questions, but I think it's great. For me personally, one of the indicators, well, just a practical one is it producing healthy benefits for you?
Okay.
Like at the health, like a health perspective, let's just say, eating barbecue chips. I love barbecue chips,
Okay.
man. If I eat that every single day, it might feel good, but like I'm gonna be like, this is not really good for me to eat all the time because of
Sure.
what it contains. And you can kind of replace the barbecue chips for any other thing. Like it might be a I don't know, a certain habit,
Mm,
or even like gossiping about people. Like maybe it might be nice to gossip, but is that really healthy for you? Like, is
mm,
that producing anything good?
mm.
And then another aspect for me, of course, is faith, because faith is a big part of my life. So
Right.
if what I'm doing is not building me closer to the person, like the central person of my faith, who is Jesus,
Mm,
and it's bringing me further, I don't think this is something I should go into, because it's
mm.
bringing me farther from what God's heart is all about. So
Right.
I don't think I want to head there.
Why shouldn't people seek for happiness on its own? You feel it and I feel it. When we're
Yeah.
happy, it's a good time in our life. It's a good time in our day even. But in
Mm.
your opinion, in your perspective, why shouldn't people seek for happiness on its own?
Like kind of like what I was mentioning earlier, if it's just purely happiness, you might be it's like um how do you say this? It's like happiness might be the front, but then
Mm.
behind it there might be destruction.
Okay. Yeah.
And that's the dangerous part, because I'm all for people, uh kind of like feeling good, but then if it's
Yeah. Yeah.
destructive, and if
For
it's
sure.
destroying you and destroying another person, I wouldn't want to see a person get destroyed by an unhealthy habit, or maybe
Mm.
even an addiction. People are into addictions, and it feels good, but like the side effect of it, the damage it might cause,
Mm.
I don't want to see people uh digging into more damage,
Right.
because it just, like, for me, um it just hurts to see someone kind of like so so caught up in the happiness that it's like, even if it's destroying me, it's fine. Like, it hurts me
Okay.
because
Yeah. Yeah.
I feel for them. Like, I
Mm.
want to help, kind of take them out if I can, or like help, like bring some light, and be like, hey, this actually might damage you more than you think.
Mm.
There could be certain things you have to think about.
Yeah.
So,
If it's not happiness, what do we need to search for, in your opinion?
hmm, if it's not happiness, okay. For me, I know this sounds so cliche, but oh my gosh, just saying the line, searching for purpose
Okay.
in what you do,
Can you explain that a
because
bit? Okay. Go ahead.
and not and by purpose I mean purpose that is is not only fulfilling for you, like that on the happy side,
Mm.
but purpose that it grows you, and it's morally good. It's
Mm.
more, but then the whole concept, the whole talk on morality is also a huge thing. What is good and what is,
That's a topic
yeah,
for another day.
yeah, but something grounded in purpose, that's not just all happy feelings, but it's
Mm.
actually beneficial for your growth, for your health, and for me, beneficial for my faith,
Right.
beneficial for what I stand for, which is, yeah, like my convictions on faith and health, not just, surface level health, but emotional health,
Yeah.
your mental health, your
Yeah.
spiritual health. So yeah, searching for purpose in what you do. And I think if we all decided to do that, obviously it's not the easiest thing at times, like when emotions are the loudest voice, but
Mm.
you have to ask yourself, like, what's worth it? Like, is it really
For
worth
sure.
just settling for happiness at
Yeah.
the expense of all of this stuff.
Yeah. I'm very curious because it's a very deep conviction that you have on this. What are the
Yeah.
moments in your life that made you realize all this stuff?
Um, well, to give one example I can think of, like right off the
Go ahead.
bat, um, you know how if, let's say, someone close to you, whether that's family or a close friend, let's say, does something wrong to you, or like
Mm,
there's an argument that happens,
mm,
and you want to hold in all of the anger and like not talk to them, like it
yeah.
feels good not to forgive. It feels good just to be
Okay.
like, no, you did the wrong thing.
Mm.
I'm just gonna, like, you have to come back to me, you have to say sorry to me, you have to apologize and do all this stuff. I'm just here.
Man, I
You
relate.
do.
Go ahead.
Yeah.
Go on. Go on.
And it feels good.
Mm,
But I ask myself, is it worth it holding on to all of this anger and unforgiveness?
mm,
Oh, I'm like, no, I value, like, especially if you value the relationship. For me, I ask myself, if I value this relationship, I have to look beyond this. And it might mean sacrificing my pride,
yeah.
how I feel,
Yeah.
but it's worth it and it's healthy. And um yeah, so like, of course, there are certain depending on the case of the argument and
Mm,
whatever, but I think in general, like when it comes to, let's say, family arguments or arguments, let's say, with your closest friends,
right.
and yeah, we have to be willing to put our pride aside sometimes and just be willing to make
Yeah.
the first move. And that's one, like, at the top of my head that
For
I can say.
sure. I think that's a good point you said about value. It depends what you value, right?
Yeah.
If you value that relationship, that person, then
Yeah.
you'll do what you need to do.
Yeah.
Whether it hurts, whether it might take time, like
Yeah.
you mentioned. Sometimes forgiveness takes a while, but
Yeah.
honestly, when in my own experiences with, let's say that, forgiveness, right? It feels good to be like, no, you're on the wrong end. You
Yeah.
know, you're like, no, I don't have anything to prove, which I don't think I did also,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
at the same time, it was kind of eating me as well because people
Mm.
started whenever people talked about the certain situation, I get so like fed up. I'd be like, like like my heart wasn't it didn't feel at peace anymore whenever I thought about it, and
Yeah.
I realized after a while that it was that temporary feeling of like, no, I'm right,
Mm.
and then this gives me a certain pass, or it
Yeah.
gives me a certain feeling of not necessarily happiness, but something close to it, right? You're like,
Yeah.
hey, like, um, and it's crazy how we live in that generation also that we talk about. We kind of want to search for that temporary thing, right?
Mm.
In exchange for the healthy long term stuff,
Mm.
and in your own life or in lives you see around you,
Yeah.
what are some healthy habits people have that you go beyond happiness in your own experience? What are these habits or perspectives?
Um, Finding people you can be vulnerable with.
Okay, that's a great one.
Yeah, because a lot of I think a lot of times it can be easy to isolate when
Mm,
you're feeling anxious or challenged, and then especially if you feel like, oh, if I open up, what are they gonna think of me? Or
mm,
I have this reputation to be strong, or to have it all together, and now that I open up, that I'm actually having a difficult time,
yeah, yeah,
like that image kind of drops down.
right.
And I've looked at certain people who are willing to be vulnerable, and interestingly enough, when they're vulnerable, like, it's helped so much people, and it's helped them, but it's also helped encourage more people to be vulnerable and to be open about
Yeah,
going through weaknesses. Obviously, it's not like it doesn't mean you have to go tell the entire world what you're struggling with,
yeah,
but at least find the right people to open up to. And
yeah.
that's something I've been trying to do, like, in my own life, like,
That's great. Yeah.
because like, a little bit of background on me. um I really love to encourage people. Like, if I can encourage someone, I'm gonna try, take the opportunity.
Yeah.
And a lot of people have noticed that, because I just do it. Like, I try my best to intentionally encourage. But the thing is, I remember there was a time where I was having a really really rough moment, and a lot of people didn't know what I was facing, and I was kind of like, wait a second, if I open up about what I'm going through, uh they're gonna kind of lose the picture of the encouraging Andre, the
Oh, I get
optimistic
that. I get
Andre,
that. All
the
right.
one
Yeah.
who's always building people up.
Yeah.
Like, they might think, oh, like, what encouragement are you talking about? You're the one here. And I was like thinking, should I open up, and should I?
Yeah. Yeah.
And later on, I realized, wait a second, I'm a human being.
Mm.
I go through these things. Like, I'm
Mm.
not exempt. And if I hold this, like, if I just hold on to everything I'm feeling and keep it to myself, chances are things are gonna get worse, and I'm just gonna live so frustrated
Oh, for sure.
and piled up with everything. So, and I remember hearing this analogy, like, those big inflatable beach balls. Like, if you put one of those things under the water, the deeper you try to push the inflatable ball under the water, the harder it is to contain.
Mm.
But then after a while, it's gonna be hard to hold, and then that's just gonna, like,
Right.
go up and make a huge splash. And I think sometimes we're like that with our hearts or with our emotions. Like, we try to kind of like hold
Yeah.
it down, hold it down, and then later on it just creates a splash that doesn't just affect you but those around you.
For
And
sure.
so I think vulnerability is something. Yeah.
I think that's very important. It's
Mm.
also in my own life where I get you. You know, we live in this world where I'm not just blaming the world. It's also my own self.
Yeah.
We live in a culture, in a society, and in our own hearts that we don't want to show people our mistakes. It's like if you build up an image, especially, I understand what you're saying because I also grew up somewhat in that space where people see you and they're like, oh, this guy's this,
Yeah.
and you're thinking, hey, if I start saying, hey, like I'm struggling with this,
Yeah.
then that image is going to deteriorate and people will think of me differently. So I totally understand where you're coming from.
Mhm.
But on the side of vulnerability, I agree 100%. It's not
Mm.
the first thought that came into my mind, but once
Yeah.
you said it, I was like, you're right. We do need vulnerability. And we also need to be accountable with each other. But then there's also that other extreme, right? When it comes to accountability, where what you said, you don't have to tell the whole world. That's not what it means,
Yeah.
right? We live in an online culture that seeks for accountability. I don't find any wrong in that, but
Mm.
like when someone powerful or makes a mistake that's detrimental to others, I believe that it should be examined and
Yeah.
criticized if necessary.
Mm.
However, it seemed to also veer too far away into being unforgiving, even when the person who's criticized says sorry, tries to fix
Mm.
things.
Yeah.
And this is kind of summarized as cancel culture.
Mm.
In your perspective, how would you define cancel culture?
uh all right. Now, I haven't been on Urban Dictionary to get the
Same.
proper internet definition.
I did not go on Urban Dictionary on
Yeah,
purpose. I was like, I'm
yeah,
not searching for this.
yeah,
I
yeah,
want to get like honest truth, perspective,
yeah.
subjective answers. Like, what's your definition on it?
Cancel culture, I think, is when. Okay, again, this is how I
Yeah,
see
yeah,
it.
yeah. Go ahead.
It's like when, let's say, someone creates a mistake or does something wrong or something, says something you don't agree with, and you kind of block them out from speaking, and you kind of like, yeah, just push them aside. Like, I don't want to hear what you say.
Mm,
Actually, you probably even shouldn't be talking because you just made a
mm,
mistake. So just go away.
yeah.
That's kind of how I see cancel culture.
Yeah, it feels to me like we're living in a world that's everyone's just performing for each other. That
Mm.
we have to perform because if the world finds out about the mistakes, we'll become canceled. It's something that, and especially as someone who's, I mean, I trust you that you're not doing anything that's cancel worthy right now, but then,
I'm kidding.
is being canceled online something to be afraid of?
Well, wow. Now, well, I think, in a sense, of course, it depends on what
Mm,
you're doing,
for sure, for
like, to
sure.
what degree.
Yeah.
But I think in one way or another, we're gonna get canceled by people because as a human, you are gonna commit mistakes.
Mm.
And I mean, I'm not trying to say like I plan to be canceled, like, oh, I hope in my life, like this coming month, I'm just gonna get canceled. But
Like, I'm not
no,
afraid.
yeah, yeah. But no, I you were asking, right, about not being afraid of being
Mm.
canceled.
Yeah. Is it
Um,
something to be afraid of?
well, for me, like, let's say with everything I post and what I share,
Yeah.
I try to be at well, one, I try to come from the heart, and two, I try to see, okay, am I wording it in such a way that uh might not, that won't bring misunderstanding. Like, if I can
Mm.
keep it as clear as
Right, right,
possible, I'm
right.
gonna try. And if ever someone, let's say, does cancel me, or says like, what the heck are you posting? I'd probably just be like, oh, like, can I clarify what you're trying to say, what you're trying to
Mm.
point out? Maybe we can talk about it. So
Yeah.
I personally don't think you have to be afraid if you're willing to have the conversation and
Okay.
ask, okay, what is it that you disagree with, and
Yeah.
maybe something I can learn that I did not
Yeah.
see.
Yeah.
But if you have, extreme pride, of course, be afraid of it, because you're gonna get crushed.
No, that's a
Yeah,
good point. It's varying degrees, of course. Like what
yeah,
I said, I don't think you'll be canceled or something, but there will be a lot of people who disagree with your points because of that kind of mindset, right? Put down to a smaller degree. Once they hear something that they don't agree with, automatically all your other points are invalid. That happens sometimes.
ah,
Um, so you have the bigger scale cancel culture of these celebrities and these people who they're saying cancel them, don't let them have any more jobs, don't let them have any more these positions in Hollywood or whatever,
yeah.
or these big let's say politicians and stuff. But then
Mm.
you also go to the um, a really small degree to the personal, and I think that also happens. Do you see that also in your life?
uh, like, one of the things I was thinking of was where, um one a person I know was posting about racial injustice, and I
Mm.
was like, okay, this is really good. This
Yeah, yeah.
person is talking about racial injustice. But then, out of nowhere, like, another friend was just shared how that person actually behind the Instagram is kind of like showing behavior that's contrary to to advocating for, justice
Mm.
towards, like, racism.
Right.
And so I was like, wait a second, what's going on? Because I see the post, and then this person's saying this. So I'm like,
Mm.
it'd be so easy to be like, that person's canceled. Like, I'm gonna
Yeah,
message them
yeah,
and
yeah.
say, like, screw you. You're like,
Like
you're
my
saying all
friend
of these.
told me that.
Yeah, yeah, like, you're a hypocrite, and
Mm.
but what I tried to do is, I said, like, hey, I heard something, uh, that maybe your behavior was actually kind of hypocritical to what you posted,
Mm.
and I'm not here to immediately say you're this and you're that, but if there's anything, like, if you really are going against what you're saying, I'm like, you might want to check that, and I
Mm.
want to know as well what you'd like to say. So
Yeah.
we had this conversation, and I think it was good because that person got to hear me out as well,
Yeah.
and it wasn't like, when a person's mad through chat, they're like all caps, and
Yeah,
like
yeah,
they
yeah.
put periods. Because if you're not mad, you don't put a
You don't
period,
put a
but like
period.
when you put a period, it's like, whoa,
Is it
that's
all
serious.
properly spelled with a period in the
You
end?
know,
Like
people become better at their grammar and spelling and
when they're
punctuation
mad.
marks when they're mad. But I think this one was way more relaxed, and both of us got to understand
Yeah.
where we were coming from.
Yeah.
So I think that was one area where like I could personally say how I didn't give in to immediately canceling the person, and it shows how you can actually have a dialogue
Mm.
with someone, and
Yeah.
have a conversation, and instead of just saying you did wrong, you did wrong, you did wrong, why not maybe ask a question first? Obviously depends on the situation,
Yeah.
but I think it would help if we just give people more grace
Okay,
and like ask the
for
question
sure.
to understand.
I
So
assume I assume that you have a relationship with this person, which is why
yeah,
it's easier.
we're not super
Okay.
close actually. Like we've only hung out a few times,
Okay. Okay.
but I was like, this is a really huge thing. Like
For sure.
if you're being racist and you're posting about being anti-racist, I'm like, that's messed up. So I'm gonna ask you, hey, like, uh, can I ask you a few questions?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Um, so yeah,
I think that's an important thing to discuss as well.
yeah,
We're not just here to say like, hey, you're a hypocrite. You can't do the good thing that you're saying to do. Like, you know what I mean? It's not that. Sometimes it goes the other way where, for example, if you see someone's has racist comments, you're like, wala na to. This guy is just racist. We can't do anything about it. Like that's veering too far on the other end.
yeah,
Personally, well, we can never really know the intent of a person's heart,
mm,
but in my core, I believe people deserve second chances. Well, no, deserves not the right word, but people need second chances, no matter what they've done. Is that something you agree with, or do you think there are boundaries to that?
that's huge because like, you know, uh, I think it's what I believe is that. But then I think if I'm faced with a situation where it's really put to the test, let's say if it's a huge thing, and it's really painful, I don't know how I would react to be
Mm,
like, yeah, you know what, I'm gonna give you a second chance. I don't know, but I would like to say for me, what I stand on is, uh, yeah, giving people a second chance, giving people grace to be understood and maybe to try again. Because there are many times I have failed and
mm,
people showed me grace, or like, you know, people gave me another chance to try.
yeah,
So I want to help, just extend that as well.
yeah. If someone says like, "No, I can't forgive this person. This person did this to me, right? This horrible thing.
Yeah.
I can't forgive them." What would be your encouragement to that, or what would be your piece of advice? I would say, or a chunk of a mindset that you'd like to share that they don't have to receive right away, but if you
Yeah.
could instill this into a person's mindset, what would it be?
Yeah. Actually, I had a friend say the exact words, like, I cannot forgive this person.
Yeah.
And it was actually, this friend was talking about someone in their family, which makes it harder because,
Oh yeah.
you grew up together, you're
Yeah.
related by blood, and it's like family, they're supposed to be there for you, but then they can often be the people sometimes that hurt you the most,
Yeah.
and it's hard. And my friend was saying, I can't forgive this person. And it's super easy just to be like, hey, come on, like, get over it, and
Mm,
just forgive them. and
yeah.
and I think that's not the way to go. Like, sometimes I think toxic positivity, just be like, just get over it, just let,
Yeah.
like, that's one of the most insensitive things for
Right.
me.
Right.
So instead of doing that, I was like, I'm really sorry that you're experiencing this pain and that
Right.
that person hurt you. And I just took time to listen, like, whatever that person had to say, I'm gonna listen. But
Yeah.
then I also raised the point, I'm like, you know what, I understand how you feel, and what you feel right now, which is hurt and pain, that's completely valid because that
Yeah.
person hurt you. But there's gonna come a point, like, I asked this person the question, like, what if that person in your family died,
Mm,
and you were holding on to this unforgiveness and to this hate? Would you have regretted, like, not making amends, or like,
mm,
having that closure to kind of like get back together, somewhat, like, make the
mm,
relationship better again? Would
yeah.
you regret it? And I remember my friend just being like staring at me, and my friend is like, I never thought about it that way. I'm like, yeah,
Mm,
because what, that person's life is not guaranteed. What if they actually do pass away and you
yeah.
don't see it coming?
Yeah.
Will you carry that regret for the rest of your life? And my friend was like, I'm just gonna think about that. I'm like,
Yeah.
all right,
For sure.
it's something you should think about. And I wasn't saying this in like, yeah, you got to think about it, because if you don't, like, you're messed. No, I
Yeah.
was I
Yeah. Yeah.
was I was just concerned for my friend. And the amazing thing was, like, I remember months later, my friend came to me and said, you know what, uh I made amends.
Yeah.
and
And
like
also after a few
our
months.
yeah, and
Yeah, it
like
takes
our
time.
relationship
Yep.
is better now.
Yeah.
And I was just so glad that one, that person was willing to share what that person was going through, but then
Mm.
two, that that it's actually possible to like for things to get better. Like you don't have to cancel the person
Yeah.
forever and then
Yeah.
they're just gone forever. It's like
Yeah.
it's possible for things to get better.
Right.
So
How do you keep the balance of keeping someone accountable, right? Because at the same time, we don't want to go to the other end where we say, like, oh, you can do whatever you want, right? There has to be some
yeah,
accountability. How do you keep the balance between keeping someone accountable but not canceling them outright?
keeping. I think that's where asking questions and having a conversation
Mm.
comes in, because when you
Yep.
have a conversation, you're still, it's like you're checking them, like, hey, I heard you say this, or I saw you acting this way, and I just want to ask you, like, well, what made you do that action, or say those words?
Yep.
Because you're being accountable because you're checking, but then at the same time you're not immediately dismissing them, saying, you know what, you like, you're out, like, I'm not gonna listen to you or what you have
Mm.
to say. And when you have a conversation, it gives people space to, yeah, share what's on their heart, what's on their mind, what, why they did what they did.
Yeah.
And honestly, it's a simple thing, but
Mm.
it doesn't necessarily mean it's the easiest thing, especially, of course, on a case-to-case basis. Having a conversation with somebody that's done a huge mistake or something that's painful to you
Yeah.
could be a difficult thing, but I think conversations are completely necessary if you want to
Yeah.
balance the two. Because yeah, I think that's really like the most practical step.
Last few questions.
Yeah.
To somebody that's thinking about it right now and they're saying, I think I've in my head canceled this person.
Mm.
You mentioned to have that conversation and stuff. What are the other things that you'd like to tell the person who's, considering canceling somebody?
uh I mean, I go by this thing where, it's a common thing as well, said like in faith, like, do unto others what you want someone
Mm,
to do to you. And I would say, if you were in that person's place and someone completely canceled you, how would you feel?
yeah.
If someone's like, you know what, I'm not going to hear what you have to say, and I don't even want to hear you speak, I don't want to hear, you're just completely out. Like, would you be okay with that? And if your answer is no, then maybe you want to consider not
Yeah.
canceling the person.
Yeah,
But
for sure.
um I don't know, if you say yes, I don't know what to say to that. Like, okay, I guess
Yeah,
go
yeah, yeah.
go for it. No, but yeah, just to consider, what the effects might be if you do cancel this person out of your life. Okay, maybe uh again, it's always a case to case basis. I
Right,
can't
for
say
sure,
this
for
for
sure,
all
for sure.
situations, but let's say in a situation where, um let's say, I don't know, a friend just said something that hurt you, but and like you misunderstood each other.
Mm,
And you might be like, oh, I'm not gonna forgive this person and I hate this person. um like, are you gonna be satisfied just by holding on to your anger, but then losing the relationship with
mm,
that person you actually value? Like,
yeah,
if that satisfies you, you might want to check really, like, what you prioritize, because it seems like you're prioritizing just uh you know going with how you feel, again, going with how you feel versus what might be healthy for you
yeah,
and for the relationship you have.
yeah.
So yeah, it's a huge thing, it's a complicated thing.
Right.
But yeah, I would say not just to immediately settle for an action, but to ask yourself certain questions before you make the action. So
Mm,
like, how will this affect me, how will
yeah,
this
yeah,
affect this other person, maybe people involved. Yeah.
yeah. How about to somebody who's living in fear that
Mm.
they think if I voice my opinion, if I voice my perspective, people who disagree with me will, push me aside and won't take me seriously. Or I might lose opportunity because I spoke out against something I really believed in.
Yeah.
It doesn't necessarily have to be the big picture cancel culture, but then what I mentioned, like
Yeah.
personal. What would you say
Mm,
to a person that's struggling with that fear of
mm,
being pushed aside because he or she voiced their opinion?
mm. One of the things I try to think in situations like that, so personally, like when I'm afraid of speaking against something that I feel
Mm,
like is really worthy of being spoken about, I think, okay, if I stay silent and let fear really just keep my mouth shut, um, nothing's gonna happen. Like,
mm,
okay, maybe no one's gonna cancel me, but no one's also gonna get help. Like, what if what I say is
mm.
actually what someone needs to hear,
Yeah,
but because I just kept shut, no one will hear that.
yeah.
That person that needed it won't be able to hear that. So I think, okay, yes, the fear is valid. No one's gonna speak against you, but then you're not gonna help anyone either.
Mm,
And it's like you'll miss out on an opportunity, because what if there's just one person that's like, exactly what you shared, that's what helped me, that's what I
yeah,
needed to
yeah,
hear.
yeah.
I think that's what makes it worth it, because uh there are always going to be people one way or another that will not agree with you,
Yeah.
but then there will be people that will really appreciate what you have to say,
Mm,
and that's what makes it worth it.
for sure.
So I think just the focus on, hey, this might help one person, and if that's your focus, I think it's worth it.
Great
Yeah.
stuff.
Yeah.
Any last words on the topic before we go on break?
uh I was gonna say something stupid like drink your water. Like, bro, sometimes you forget, you gotta hydrate.
All right, we're gonna take a quick break. All right, we're back from the break. We're still here with Andre. Andre, you have a new business.
Hmm.
What do you guys have?
um
It's like supplements, right? Peanut butter.
well, peanut butter is a supplement, health wise. Yeah, I wish it was, packed, jam packed with all the
Oh,
vitamins. But no, so just over quarantine, right? Since majority of my work involves going to events or like
right, right.
hosting and
Mm,
being with people. Since that's kind of been put to a pause, I
mm,
was thinking, all right, uh, I can't just be hopeful and not try anything. I
for
gotta
sure.
try and do something as well. So I
Yeah.
was like, what? I really like peanut butter, and I eat it a lot, like as a snack or for breakfast
Yeah.
or just whenever. So I'm like, at first, honestly, I just wanted to learn how to make it because I wanted to make it for myself.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and then I realized, okay, maybe some people might want to take the one I'm making, because like I added like healthier alternatives, like let's say
Mm,
instead of just regular oil, it's coconut oil, or instead
okay,
of
okay.
like regular sugar, it's coconut sugar. So just the simple things. I was like, all right. So and some people are buying, so I'm like, cool. I mean, I'm enjoying the peanut butter. You're enjoying the peanut butter.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
mean, we're both good. So, yeah, that's kind of like what started. But like right now, I'm honestly continually looking for things as well to do.
Okay.
In terms of, yeah, just like what can I do that one is still connected with maybe what I'm passionate about,
Right, for sure.
but two, something that can help me earn, because we all need to earn money.
Oh,
Like
for
we need
sure. For
we need
sure.
that. So
Yeah.
yeah, that's kind of what I've been like regards to that business.
Mm.
But um, one of the good things actually, which I'm so thankful for, was it last week? I had my first shoot after
Okay.
6 or 7 months, and it was completely different because you had to get the swab test,
Yeah, yeah.
and I was scared, bro. Like that
How was
swab.
that? How was the test?
Um, it's
Did it hurt?
okay. It's more in the mind.
Okay.
When I was going through it, it felt more like a tickle in the nostril. Like maybe he was the healthcare worker is really
Mm.
gentle, but it felt like a uncomfortable tickle in the nostril.
Okay.
Yeah, but after, bro, I was tearing up, and then I felt like sneezing, but it was fast, like 5-10 seconds. And
Okay, okay.
what I really appreciated was the process of the shoot was way more organized, and like,
Mm,
because some shoots before, like, there's so much people, and
yeah.
sometimes there can be lots of delays.
Oh, for sure.
But with this one, it was, people were like sticking by the schedule,
Yeah.
people were making sure hygiene was in check, and it was good. And I was just like, wow, this is like, in a sense, one of the things I'm grateful for, because I realized, whoa, you can actually do the job with a lot less people
Yeah.
and a lot less time, and have it like organized. And
Yeah.
I'm like, that's great. So that's something I think we should adapt, even when
Going forward.
quarantine, yeah, is
Yeah.
over. Yeah.
I've seen some of my friends who have shoots as well. And
Yeah.
then, did everyone have like that suit thing on, or no, not necessarily?
The ones that had the suit were the photographers
Okay.
and the staff, but then for the ones, um, for like the talents, or the
Mm,
ones, yeah, in the shoot, we were required, like, the mask and
for
the
sure.
face shield. Yeah.
Mm. I want to ask you again about your business.
Yeah.
What's it like being an entrepreneur of peanut butter?
um, I, well, honestly, it's really comforting and satisfying. Like, I think it just makes me feel really grateful when someone says, "You know what? I tried what you made. I
Yeah.
actually really enjoyed it."
Wait,
Like,
so you
even
make
if
it yourself?
I make it myself. Yeah.
Nice. All right.
Yeah. And I don't know. It's so nice. Like, I think you can relate. Like, if you create something and then someone says, "You know what? I really appreciate what you
Yeah.
made," and
Yeah.
like, I really enjoyed that.
Yeah.
It just makes you feel like, oh, thank you. Like,
Yeah. Yeah.
you're
For
the
sure.
best.
For
Like,
sure.
yeah. So it's been good.
Yeah.
And yeah, I'm grateful for the people that have got peanut butter during this time.
I remember
Yeah.
because I follow you on Instagram, and
Yeah.
then a couple months ago, suddenly you were just like, "Hey, look what I made." I was like, "Yo, like,
Yeah.
this guy's hustling." I feel like a lot of people in quarantine are going through that.
Mm.
Whether it's coffee or cookies or
Yeah.
bread, like we're all
Yeah.
just kind of living through that.
Ube pandesal is like seen everywhere. No offense if you make it, go
Yeah,
for it.
yeah,
But I'm
yeah,
just saying, I see it everywhere now. Like ube
yeah.
pandesal.
Ube pandesal. You have your people who make sisig for in tubs. Like those are cool.
Yeah.
What's it like starting it in quarantine? Is it because it's in quarantine that's why you decided to start it? And if is it something you want to make in the future, or is this just like a more of a I'm just taking it day by day thing?
Yeah. I definitely didn't think I'd be making peanut butter. Yeah, it's a quarantine thing for
Yeah.
sure.
Okay.
But I was also just realizing, like, one, it's a good thing to think about, like, besides your primary source of income, thinking of something else as well that you can earn on the side.
Yeah.
Because I don't know, I think it's just being wise, like, and I'm sure we all love just an extra amount of income. and
Mm.
and yeah, I, I I'm not really sure if this is gonna be something I continue long term, but I for sure wanna just continue to search for more things I can create that I
Yeah.
can possibly sell as well in the future,
Yeah.
because it's something I wanna adopt. Like, looking for new ways to do something that's one, not just beneficial for me, but then that I could also earn from.
For sure.
Like, so I think having that constant search and just being open to ideas is something that I want to take with me, moving forward.
How would you encourage people to start something new, even in quarantine, even with the limited resources? Because that's something you did, right? It's something that
Yeah.
oh, I have ingredients, or you bought ingredients.
Yeah.
I can make peanut butter for myself. You did it for yourself, right? You made it,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
then you decided to sell it.
Yeah.
Um, to the person that is thinking about starting something, whether it's a project, whether it's a passion project, whether it's for
Yeah.
money, what would you want to say to that person?
Yeah. It's kind of related to what I was saying earlier when you were asking about if that person is struggling with fear, right?
Yeah.
Fear
Okay.
of trying, fear of
Mm,
doing something new. If you let the fear stop you, you miss out on all means of opportunity.
for sure. For sure.
And it could be a big opportunity or it could be a small opportunity, but you literally miss on every kind of opportunity when you don't do anything.
Right.
And let's say you do try, and things don't go as planned, like it's not so good. It might be tough, of course, because it's like, oh, I failed, but at least you tried.
Yeah.
But on the other side, like, what if you do try and things go well?
Mm.
What if it works? Um, you just say to yourself, I'm so glad I went for it.
Yeah.
And I think what you gain from it is honestly more than what you might lose from it.
Yeah.
Well, again, depending, like if you invest like 1 million in cookies and like no one buys your cookies, I'm sorry, don't invest 1 million in cookies. But yeah, kind of consider as well, what are you investing
Mm.
in. You can start small, unless
Yeah.
you really believe, like, I'm gonna start this big. I
Yeah.
mean,
Yeah.
strongly believe, and you have a calculated approach to it, maybe go
Mm.
for it. But
Yeah.
yeah, I think trying and stepping out is way more, like, you'd gain so much more
Yeah.
from that. Yeah,
I don't want to keep you too long, so I'm gonna have one last question for you.
sure.
What's your biggest lesson so far of 2020?
Oh, biggest lesson. um all right, well, uh I'm sure everyone has learned this,
Mm.
but it's how you can make many you can make many plans and schedule so many stuff on your calendar, but it doesn't
Mm.
mean life's gonna turn out the way you planned.
Yeah.
and and since for me, faith is a huge part of my life.
Mm.
It's difficult when you think you're making plans out of faith,
Mm.
and
Good
it
point.
doesn't happen still.
Good point.
How do you move forward from that?
Yeah.
And one of the things that I've just been learning more is the areas where it's like the areas where we fear the most are actually where we trust God the least. And that's
Okay. Yeah.
been something for me. It's like, oh, I didn't
Mm.
recognize. I actually was struggling with fear in certain areas that I did not see.
Mm.
And I think it's a whole, like, it's a check on, like, what are you putting your trust in or your
Mm.
hope in during this time? Because um right now, pretty much everything is like tested. You can put your hope in your job, but like, if
Mm.
your job doesn't work out, what do you do then?
Yeah.
And so it's just been that, like, where do I put my hope, and what are my priorities? Where do I find, like, my stability in life?
Mm.
Is it in my work? Is it in my
Right.
in what people say
Mm.
about me? Is it in Instagram likes? And even that, like, ever since quarantine happened, like, there are so many people doing, making content, and it can be so easy to feel like, they're doing so much more than me, and then
Yeah.
you stop. But then you have to celebrate as well the things in your life that you are doing well with. Like, I'm so glad that I'm, like, emotionally healthy.
Yeah.
Some people are really struggling with so much emotional weight, and
Yeah,
I'm
for
just
sure.
glad, like, I'm so I mean, just being real, like, I'm really thankful that I can bike. I'm thankful that I
Yeah. Yeah.
can
Yeah.
I can see my family.
Yeah.
Yeah, so learning to celebrate as well, the things that maybe you've taken for granted. Yeah, so those things.
For sure. Celebrate the little things. I agree with that 100%. It's something that there's so many things that we take for granted. Like what you mentioned. Like going to my favorite coffee shop, I can't even do that anymore, you know?
Mm.
I wish I appreciated it more back
Yeah,
then. But then hopefully when things go back to quote unquote normal, um, we get to appreciate those things more.
yeah.
Andre, thanks for coming on.
Thank you.
Where
It's
can
been
people
fun.
find you?
Um, you can find me at my house because I'm on lockdown. No, no. Let me give you my address. No, I'm kidding.
I live
Um,
in this street.
no, please don't. Unless you want to bring me some food, go for it. But no. So yeah, you can find me on Instagram at Andre Lagdameo, Twitter, Andre Lagdameo as well, and that's pretty much the main things I use now. Yeah,
Mm.
Instagram, Twitter. Yep.
All right. Thanks for coming on. Thank you for being honest in the discussion of happiness. I feel like a lot of people need to hear that as well. Whether it's about cancel culture, fear,
Yeah.
whether the boundaries of second chances. I feel like these are topics that it's just the start. Let's. I hope that people after this podcast start talking about these things more, and
Yeah.
the conversation just keeps evolving from here. But
That's right.
I love this. I love this topic. So Andre, thanks for coming in.
Thank you so much, man.
Thanks for watching. Be sure to subscribe on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and wherever you find your podcasts. Also, click subscribe on YouTube if you're here. I'll see you next time.